Hi friends! It's kind of hard to believe it's this time of year already, but I just picked up my bulb order the other day. Just like last year, I thought I'd do a bulb unboxing and show you what I've got planned for spring bulb flowers for next year. All right, I feel like a bit of a wimp today, but it's so cold as it can be in the Pacific Northwest, a wet, damp, rainy sort of cold, and it's gotten to my bones today. So I'm just hiding under cover in case the rain starts again. It's been so long since I ordered these. For wholesale, I have to order my bulbs the spring before. So basically about 6 months before I pick up my order, which is really kind of strange to be ordering my bulbs and thinking about it while I'm still in bulb season. But I push it near to the deadline, which is in June. And that way, usually most of my bulbs have kind of finished and I kind of have a better idea of what worked, what didn't work, because I tend to be trying new things and experimenting a lot. So I briefly looked at the paperwork when I picked these up, but I was on my way to pick up my kids from school. So this is going to be a little bit of a refresher to see what it was that I ordered. Also, not all of these are mine. So if you see me skipping over boxes, I'll let you know what they are. But my dad also wanted to get a bunch of bulbs, a bunch of tulips and other things this year. Okay, so first off, this is a fun one to start with. It's Tete-a-Tete Boucle, a Narcissus. I grew this one last year, and it's kind of a fun one to start off with because this is the daffodil that went viral for me, both online and with my customers. This is the one that I did the highly popular little kokodamas with. So this has sparked kind of a new foray, I suppose, into using dwarf bulbs for kokodama rather than growing the cut flower bulbs. And I've pushed into this for this year, and I've ordered some other bulbs to be doing a similar thing with as I did. So if you haven't seen the viral daffodil kokodamas, I will put a link up at the top of the video so that you can check out my full tutorial on how I made those. All right, next we have Fritillaria, Uva vulpis. This is a chocolatey, yellowy, warm colored, dainty, flouncy bulb that is actually for a Fritillaria pretty good at naturalizing compared to some of the more fancier Fritillarias, which you'll see some of those as well because I've got some of those in this order as well. I've been wanting to add Fritillaria to my cut flower garden, my perennial cut flower garden for quite a long time, and slowly through the years as I've been ordering bulbs for production more for the farm, I've been slowly also adding in the diversity of some of these bulbs to go in my cut flower garden, which I use quite a bit for my sales, but also just for my own personal design. So really suited for maybe home style design or those really special pieces that might be going to a wedding, things like that. Oh, and right beside it is another Fritillaria that I ordered. This is Fritillaria meleagris or meleagri. This one's also known as checkered lily. And again, I ordered this one for my perennial cut flower garden. This one's perhaps even less suitable for cut flower production. This is only about like an 8-inch tall plant. Very pretty one that I've been wanting for a very long time. Next, we have some tulips, judging from the bulbs. Yes, and so this is one of those ones not for me, but just for interest's sake. This is 100 bulbs of Texas Flame, which I believe is a beautiful parrot. Okay, great. Next box. First one up is Muscari Baby's Breath. This is a very exciting one. It's a very, very, very pale, almost like a very pale blue-gray kind of color. very neat. I'm excited about this. I have Muscari that grows in my gardens. It naturalizes amazingly. And it's not one that I've actually ever planted intentionally. The ones I have came with the home, but it's wonderful to work into spring wreaths. And I'm specifically ordered this one to also use this one for kokodama. So what I'll probably do is be putting some of them in pots to use them for kokodama. And then some of them I'll just pop into my cut flower garden so that I could keep some around and allow them to keep multiplying. They're amazing for naturalizing and for multiplying. And at 17 cents per bulb, I think that that will be a great investment. As I've selected my different bulbs to try out for kokodama this year, I've selected some from different species groups just so that I can kind of try to spread out kokodama and have some available throughout a longer part of the springtime rather than just all at one time. So I'm hoping these things are going to bloom in their time. Muscari tend to bloom quite early. So just not having overlap, but actually having different event times for my flower stand sales, which I thought would be exciting. Something that I've found with running a flower stand now for quite a number of years is that people are really excited about flowers in the spring. And as I mentioned in my last video, we're kind of looking at pulling away a bit more from the summertime just for our personal family needs and kind of the layout of our life with our kids at the ages that they're at for the years going forward at this season of life. I have been pushing more into the springtime when I know that I'm going to be around and our schedule is a lot more reliable, but also because people go crazy for spring flowers. They've got through the winter and they're really excited. And so I really find that they're also home a lot. They're not on summer vacation. So I find that to be a really great time of year for me personally to be focusing on. Ooh, okay. So this is exciting. Look at the size of these bulbs. This is Narcissus Ice King. And this is a double petticoat style, fragrant, gorgeous daffodil that I'm very excited to add to the lineup. So I've been growing daffodils for cut flowers now for a number of years as I've been growing other things, and daffodils are definitely my most favorite bulb for spring flowers. I just love how low maintenance they are. I love the fragrances. I love the time of year when they're blooming, when there's not a lot going on in the gardens. They're so exciting. And over the years, I've been slowly acquiring different really amazing daffodils, and I've kind of settled on trying to have ones that have long enough stem length. A lot of mine are super tall. I love the doubles. I love the ones that have a large bloom head size for in bouquets. They just have a lot more substance. And daffodils in general tend to be, even the specialty types like this, tend to be fairly inexpensive investment considering how they'll bloom typically for many, many years as long as they're taken care of properly. And I just wanted to show you these fritillarias again. So these are not for me. I would gladly grow fritillarias. If I had the right kind of floral business, I would gladly grow these types of fritillarias. This is Fritillaria Red Beauty. These fritillarias are a little bit more specific in their growing situation and a little harder to naturalize. I've just decided to stay away from them just in terms of where I'm heading with my flower garden right now. I just don't want to go into those. Those are ones that my dad wanted to add in. All right, next box. Let's see what we have. Oh, these are my tulips. I'll show you these. So these are apricot parrot. I've grown these many times. I personally love parrot tulips. I also really love doubles, but I think if I had to choose, I'd choose parrots. I'm perfectly happy though with either of those two classes of tulips in terms of just design work, in terms of how much they bring to a mixed bouquet. The size of the bloom is just a bit more substantial than some of the other types, and they're both gorgeous in their own ways. One thing I love about parrot tulips is they naturalize easier. They're usually also, most of them are super tall. So I ordered these to try something new with these this year. So for the past few years, we've been doing tulips in different ways. We've gone huge into tulips and done very well where we've planted them in our fields and had just amazing harvests, and struggled a bit with, or a lot with, the harvesting end of things in our soil, with soil compaction and having to dig these things out to try to harvest them properly in order to store them till Mother's Day and yada yada. I'm probably not the only one who's been trying to figure out a way that tulips can fit into her flower garden plans without them becoming either super risky and a potential chance to lose a whole lot on, or to be making them super labor intensive. What I found is growing them in the field, while the quality has been really great for us, and they've just been super laborious in terms of both harvesting as well as having to wash them off and then storing them. So then we've also tried where we've tried to order lots and lots of them and grow them in crates. And then we've had more issues with diseases, fungal diseases, and lower harvests. And then basically just not able to make our money back on them. So we've been over on that side of things. I've started to just order just not so many each year until I can find a way that they could really fit. And maybe I won't find a way that they fit how I want to operate what I do. Last year I did them in crates. I had mixed success with them. Some of the crates had some issues. I did one type of parrot last year, which was black parrot, which I had experience with. And I also did a crate of yellow pomponette. They did the best that I've had for crate grown tulips, but not without issues and not without some losses. So this year for these parrots, I want to explore something new for me again that I've kind of dabbled with on a very, very small scale in my perennial cut flower garden, and that is to try naturalizing these parrot tulips. I'm going to be trying with these ones to just put them in my landscape or in the ground somewhere. And my idea is, because I know these ones are so tall, the thinking for me is that what I want to do is harvest them, but leave the bulb and at least a couple of the green leaves on the stem when I'm harvesting. So basically, assuming that I'm going to get a good stem length on them, that I could actually harvest long enough stem for design work while also leaving the bulb in the ground to then be able to replenish itself because it has foliage still on it, and that it will be able to come back for at least a few more years. So that's the thinking now. And as I said, I have done this a little bit already just with some of the ones in my landscape, and I have had success with those ones. And so I just wanted to try that on a somewhat slightly larger scale of still just 100 bulbs. I will have to update you next year and see how that fit for my farm and how well that worked out. Okay, the next one is a dwarf iris JS Dite. This one's a gorgeous plum mauvey purple, gorgeous color for spring. And as you may have guessed, it's a little dwarf iris. I want to try these ones also for the kokodama. So we'll see how those ones do. And yes, I have grown irises before. I grow Dutch irises, love them. I've never done dwarfs. These also should naturalize pretty well. So again, I'll probably save a few for my own gardens. Next one is Allium bulgaricum. Okay, so I have grown this one before if it seems familiar to you. I love this allium. And I love alliums in general. I've done a whole entire video on the alliums that I've been growing for my cut flower garden. One reason I really love them is that a lot of them perennialize or naturalize really, really well, which is just the type of flower that this girl's looking for a cut flower garden and farm production. This is a really different style of allium. It has more of a feathered nodding head of little florets rather than your kind of typical rounded shape that's so fascinating. But I love this one. Also, I've used the little individual buds in design work, like small designs like corsages and boutonnieres. So that's a really versatile one to have that. So again, naturalizing those somewhere either in my field or probably more so in my perennial cut flower garden so that they don't get in the way in my fields. The next one is Galanthus Mount Everest. Okay, so this is a snowdrop. It's an 8-inch tall snowdrop. So was trying to find a snowdrop with a more diminutive size, like height wise, but it's a 2-inch bloom, like a large bloom. So I kind of didn't find the perfect snowdrop to try for, you may have guessed, kokodama again. And again, snowdrops naturalize amazingly. Again, I will probably be saving some, putting them in my own garden so that I can retain some of that beautiful bulb diversity and hopefully be able to produce a few more of my own. And with all of these kokodamas, I'll be growing them probably in 4-inch pots in a mixture of potting soil and sand or vermiculite just to help with the drainage. And the one thing that I have found the downside with trying to grow bulbs like this in pots is that the moisture can be an issue. There can be too much moisture where bulbs aren't setting roots properly and they're getting root rot. That's one thing that I really want to do better at, which is why I want to change up the kind of substrate that I'm growing them in to make sure there's just as much drainage as possible. So I'll see if I can do a video as I actually plant them to kind of show you what I end up coming up with, and we can discuss in more detail. But one of the things about putting bulbs in pots and then covering them, protecting them in a nice area, like I've done them against the side of my house before, under hay, one of the things that that does is it encourages rodents to come move in there and have a wonderful winter setup with food and the snack bars right there. It's warm, it's dry. So there can be trade-offs to trying to grow bulbs in those ways rather than just properly out in the ground. But for the kokodama, I really want them to be already potted, have their little root systems contained in a pot so that it's easier to then turn them into the kokodamas. So I'm gonna go get the next box. All right, there's a whole lot of tulips in this one. So just for your curiosity, this is a Stella Reinwald, which is a really beautiful two-tone parrot. Gorgeous, and Yellow Madonna, which are both not for me, although I may just keep a few for my own gardens. But this one is for me. So I ordered a box of hyacinths, as I tend to do. This is Pink Pearl. I will be growing these as a cut flower this year, not for kokodama. One thing about hyacinths is that the bulbs are expensive. They're 75 cents at least plus tax. And the idea with growing them for a cut flower is you actually harvest everything, including the bulb, and you're not supposed to cut the stem off of the bulb. You're supposed to leave the bottom of the bulb, the basal plate of the bulb attached to the stem. So you basically core your hyacinths, you core them down, and that gives you a longer stem length, but also a better vase life. And I'd really be curious if I can have time next year to try a comparison of harvesting them that way versus where they're grown as an annual versus harvesting them, just cutting them and seeing how they do for a vase life comparison, because I never have done that. I've always just harvested off that bulb. So that being said, although hyacinths do somewhat naturalize for me in my garden, they don't come back as nice huge blooms after that first year. I love them, but also it is more grown as an annual, much like most of the tulips are grown. All right, none of these are for me, but there is a Dutch iris that I have grown. I do grow these in my garden. This is a great one. This is Tiger Mix. Dutch irises are great. I love them. In my cut flower garden, I see there's another Fritillaria here. There's another tulip. It's a DJ parrot, so I may have to do some tradesies, perhaps with my dad with these ones. And some, actually this is mine. There's some more of my tete-a-tete boucle Narcissus. All right, one more very special box of bulbs, and then I've got one more box that's not bulbs at all to show you. This is one that I didn't order, but I picked up in the warehouse. This one looks really cool. Narcissus Pom-Pom Rose, and it's a double frilly Narcissus, which you know I love. The colors of this one are not like any daffodil I've seen before, so I just had to grab it even though the bulb price was pretty pricey. It's $1.25 per bulb, so hopefully it naturalizes quite well for me. It's really neat though. The back petals are cream and the center, the middle part of the flower is a mixture of salmon and green. Last box is very special. I wonder if you can guess what else I might be planting in the fall to be blooming in the spring. If you guessed peonies, you'd be right. So I've got a whole crate of gorgeous peony roots. These are Duchesse de Nemours, and it's a pure white balm style peony. It's very fragrant, very popular for weddings, good strong stems on it with really good storage of its large 5 to 7 inch blooms. I got 50 in this crate and they'll be going into my main flower field. So I'm gonna have to be juggling a few things around, moving some perennials around to get them to fit in the existing peony row that I have. Peonies are something that lately I run out of in the spring. I don't have enough. This year I was sold out of them for a wedding that I did, and I didn't have any to spare for my flower stand. So I also have a lot of pinks and reds. I haven't had any whites, and I wanted to get white because it's such a versatile bloom color to be mixing in to mix bouquets in the spring. Basically, white goes with anything, so I thought that white would be a smart one to grab. Peonies are kind of a long game. They're more of something that I'm going to be harvesting from in future years and waiting a few years to really be able to start harvesting a lot from them. But I'm going to definitely do a video on how we're going to plant these up in the peony beds, because I have for a while now kind of been unhappy with how we've planted our peonies and the wide spacing that we've given them per general instructions that we have found from other gardeners or growers online. I just haven't been happy with them. And we talked to the grower of these about their spacing and how they handle their peonies, which is really interesting because they space them really closely and they have a different kind of short-term rotation on their peony fields. So it's really interesting, and it kind of gave us some ideas for how we might cram these in a bit tighter and have kind of a different purpose for, or a different plan for them and how we're going to handle them. So I'll definitely be doing a video on how we're prepping that bed and what we end up doing for spacing and all that, because the wide spacing on a peony bed in my flower field just doesn't always make sense. It's a huge amount of space in between the plants that really just attract a whole bunch of weeds. And yeah, pros and cons. Again, of course, there's really, different ways to do gardening, and that's just one that I haven't been fully satisfied with. So I'll see you guys next time, but that is my little bulb haul for this year. Hope you enjoyed seeing what it is that I'm grabbing and what I'm working with, and definitely keep an eye on my channel for more updates as we're planting and what we end up doing with different things. And also in the spring, as hopefully a lot of these flowers end up showing up on YouTube, as well as showing up in my bouquets and design work and going out to my community. Thanks for being here as always. Let me know if you've got any questions or comments. I love hearing from you. And in the meantime, I will see you guys next time.